Greetings and welcome to the United States Transhumanist Party Virtual Enlightenment Salon. My name is Gennady Stoliarov II, and I am the chairman of the U.S. Transhumanist Party. Here we hold conversations with some of the world's leading thinkers in longevity, science, technology, philosophy, and politics. Like the philosophers of the Age of Enlightenment, we aim to connect every field of human endeavor and arrive at new insights to achieve longer lives, greater rationality, and the progress of our civilization. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our United States Transhumanist Party Virtual Enlightenment Salon and special campaign live stream of Sunday, October 20th, 2024. We are fast approaching the general election in the United States. The day of the election will be on November 5th, but early voting has begun in many states. Many people have received their mail-in ballots, and it is time now to consider whom you will be supporting for President and Vice President of the United States. Of course, there are many other decisions to be made on the ballots for your senator, your representative, various local offices, state offices, ballot questions that are on the ballots for many states, and those are all important as well. But today, we hope to convince you, if you're able, to cast your presidential and vice presidential votes in favor of our Transhumanist Party candidates, Tom Ross and Daniel Twedt. We are here with them and also with our Director of Visual Arts, Art Ramon Garcia. And joining us as well is our member from Texas, Alan Crowley. Welcome, Alan. And we are going to also explain how it will be possible for you to vote for Tom Ross and Daniel Twedt through our write-in campaign. But first, I would like to open up the floor to our presidential candidate, Tom Ross, for a brief message. Tom, we have a historic election ahead of us. Why should voters support you?
Well, I did prepare some remarks, and the duopoly, the so-called choice between Republicans and Democrats, only serves the power elite. It's a small group of wealthy individuals who thrive on keeping us divided. They fear that if we ever recognize our collective power, their control will fall. The Republicrats are a two-headed snake, and no disrespect to snakes, but they feed on our fear and our anger to distract us from real progress. The whole point of my campaign, even during the primary, was to break the stranglehold of a system that only benefits the few. So I had hoped more candidates would join the race so that if I won, we could run as a presidential candidate and his cabinet. Imagine a campaign where instead of pointless debates, we hold brainstorming sessions where the public can see how we tackle real issues, not wedge issues or culture wars designed to divide us. That's what's going on here. So that's the future we can build. I even vowed to pick my vice president from the first runner-up in the primary because that's who the Transhumanist Party wanted next. This campaign has always been about collaboration, innovation, and transparency. But this is bigger than just one election. It's about clearing the path for younger, smarter, and forward-thinking candidates who can rise up and finally bring real change. Now, by casting a write-in vote for me, you're sending a clear message that it's time to break from the tired, outdated political paradigms and build a future that truly serves we, the people. Together as transhumanists, we can pave the way for new ideas, real solutions, and a political system that works for all of us, not just the power elite. Lastly, I want to express my deepest gratitude to my running mate, our campaign staff, and Gennady for their dedication and support. This campaign has always been about the future, and we couldn't have come this far without you. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yes, thank you very much, Tom. And I am touched and gratified by your good words, and I think they should resonate with our viewers, with the members of the Transhumanist Party. Indeed, we need to challenge the duopoly. We need to keep challenging it and show that there's a better way. Politics oriented toward policy, toward substantive discussions that can actually improve the state of the world and not just continue the same old bickering. So thank you very much for those remarks. And Daniel, now I would invite you to share your thoughts about why people should support the Ross-Twedt ticket. Let's see.
Oh, or is my mic working?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't prepare any remarks, but that's just my style. I like to wing it when I talk to folks. I want to talk especially to the disaffected and the unregistered voter, because tomorrow is actually the deadline, the last day, 15 days before the election is the deadline to become a participant. And I just think of it this way. I know you're disaffected by the duopoly that Tom speaks about, and you feel unheard, but if you drop out of any election or any choice, you're effectively letting someone else choose for you. And I can't think of a more disempowering act than to not only are you not counted, but they're going to count someone who may think something entirely antithetical to what you want. So this is the franchise that people have sacrificed their lives, literally, just to do this simple act that we're in the process of. You know, my dad was part of an Antifa demonstration called the Battle of the Bulge, and he got 80% of his intestines blown out by a German mortar shell. But he was there for the right to vote and the right to register tomorrow. And, you know, he got a Purple Heart. His life was shortened, but he lived long enough to give birth to me and our 3 other siblings. And I held his hand at his deathbed at the Veterans Hospital. I said, Dad, I'm going to make something of my life. I'm going to do what I can to be, you know, worthy of your legacy that you brought me into this world and you nearly died defending. So anyway, didn't mean to get too tirade like there, but we are at an inflection point, not just in politics and economics, but consider the life of evolution itself. You know, life goes back 4 billion years or so, and most of the cells in your body are microbes that are not you. They don't have human DNA. We are DNA robots that are able to carry these trillions of microbes and single-celled entities to new frontiers. And we're on the verge of a really big frontier, which is my graphic behind me. There's the Mechazilla doing its live long and prosper imitation. But we can build, you know, your body is an arcology, a cosmic arcology to take evolution to new frontiers. And if we don't get it right on this go round, you know, there's been 5 mass extinctions in the past. We're in the middle of a 6th one that we're probably causing. There isn't enough low-hanging resources for life to go through a long, arduous process of evolving intelligent cockroaches or whatever in the next version. So the stakes are pretty high, is what I'm saying. And we may not win every battle, but the thinkers will indeed outlast the thugs. And that's the way we have to. That's the way we ought to consider the stakes and the battle we're in. Okay, well, that's my tirade for now.
It looks like just Jagannati dropped off. But I'll go ahead and say something. The last main party candidate I voted for was Obama, and that was his last administration. And I was really disappointed with Obama. You know, he took a strong stance against whistleblowers because of Snowden and Assange. And I'll say it, I am a whistleblower myself. And it hurt my career. It caused a lot of problems. They sent, you know, private investigators after me. It was very difficult being a whistleblower. And all I was trying to do was save the government some money, but apparently there's some people out there who just don't want that. So, forgotten. I might even take some action against the entity that took action against me. But yeah, I'll get it done with the main parties. And I've been voting for Transhumanist Party since Zotad. So, hey, Gennady, you back? All right, I'm going to put Gennady back to focus.
That was a great commentary. Thanks, Art.
Yep. Gennady, can you hear us?
Yes.
Gennady, can you hear us? All right, which one do you want?
I think this one is best.
All right, let me mute your cell phone, or let me mute that one. That one is muted.
Yes.
Okay. Let me.
My apologies, everyone. I lost my internet connection momentarily, but I am back. And now we are going to discuss essentially how you can write in Tom Ross and Daniel Twedt. We have a page on our website that, first of all, provides their candidate profiles. So if you're interested in learning more about the Ross-Twedt presidential ticket, reading articles written about Tom and Daniel, watching their campaign videos, watching extensive interviews that have been done with them, go to our candidate profiles page. We've also published a page on our website where to write in Tom Ross for President of the United States and how to make sure that your vote counts. And this is what I will be sharing with you shortly, because we have really placed this as the front and center of our website right now. So you can see, actually, this campaign image was posted there quite recently. And our front page says the 2024 US presidential election approaches. Write in our Transhumanist Party candidates, Tom Ross for president and Daniel Twedt for vice president. And then here you can navigate to our page that provides more details about the write-in campaign. So first of all, the vast majority of states allow for a write-in option. And we have a map of what states these are. I'm going to try to magnify this map so that you can see it in higher resolution. Here it is. And really, there are 5 classifications of states that we have pointed out here. And these are distinctions by whether or not write-in candidates are allowed, and if they're allowed, whether the state will have some sort of effort to count the number of write-in votes, because some states don't count write-in candidates at all. And the other manner in which these states are distinguished is by whether people are allowed to take pictures of their ballots, or so-called ballot selfies. This has been a point of contention in various jurisdictions, but some states allow it as an expression of freedom of speech. Other states disallow it for various reasons. But obviously, if you can take a picture of your ballot, if it's legal for you to do so in the state where you reside, then we would encourage that. So the states that are marked in orange here are states where one is allowed to write in a candidate and allowed to take a ballot picture. And it's quite likely that the state will count those votes. However, we would still like you to contact us and let us know that you cast a vote for Tom Ross and Daniel Twedt. The states that are highlighted in this very faint light orange, there are really 2 of them, South Carolina and New Jersey, are states where candidates do have write-in access, automatic write-in access, so they don't even have to register to be write-in candidates. But the state disallows ballot pictures. So you can write in Tom Ross and Daniel Twedt and let us know via email that you did that, but we don't want you to violate any laws, so don't send us ballot pictures. Then the states that are highlighted in gold, and you can see that's the plurality of the states here on this map. Those are the states where write-in candidates are allowed, but the state isn't going to count them. So we're going to need to count the number of votes for our ticket. That would be the only way for the public to know. And you are allowed to take ballot pictures. So send us images of your ballot. You can choose to send an image of yourself with it, but sending just an image of your ballot will suffice as well, just so that we have a record of these. If anybody ever asks us, well, give us evidence that this many people voted for the Ross-Twedt ticket for whatever reason, we might provide it. Obviously, not any names of people who voted, because we do respect the secret ballot as well. But if somebody ever challenges us in this regard. And then the light yellow states are the states where write-in candidates are allowed, but they are not going to be counted by the state, and ballot selfies or ballot pictures are disallowed. So in those situations, you should contact us via email. We will add your vote to the count by state that we're going to publish. However, we will not ask you to send ballot pictures. Again, we want you to obey the law. So the states that are highlighted in gray, and there are only 6 of them, Nevada, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Hawaii, are states where unfortunately there is no write-in option. So in those states, unfortunately, you would not be able to write our candidates in, and that's a shame. But all we can say is vote your conscience. Now, we have hyperlinks on this page that allow you to navigate to each category of these states. And there are more instructions here. And you can see, for instance, for states that allow automatic write-in access and do not limit ballot pictures, our actions recommended are to write in Tom Ross as your presidential candidate of choice and write in Daniel Twedt as well as your vice presidential candidate, and email us a picture of your marked ballot. You can do that. You can also simply let us know that you voted for Tom Ross. You can send an email to US Transhumanist Party at protonmail.com. So that's the address again, US Transhumanist Party all together at protonmail.com. And I will post it in the chat soon as well. And then going back, you can see what the instruction is for states that allow automatic write-in access but prohibit ballot pictures. Here the instruction is simply email us that you voted for Tom Ross, but don't send pictures of your ballot. And then moving along, here are the many states that allow write-in candidates and generally do not limit ballot pictures. There are some nuances. For instance, with Arizona, Arizona does not limit pictures of one's ballot when it is taken from home. So if you are casting a mail-in ballot, for instance, but inside official voting locations, there may be limits on photography. Likewise, Florida prohibits photography inside polling places, but people may take pictures of their own ballots. So maybe there's some limited allowance for photography as long as you're just focusing on your own ballot. Don't take pictures of other people or other people's ballots. And West Virginia, same situation. You may take pictures of your own ballots, but nothing else inside a polling place. So again, we want everyone to respect the law, respect the secret ballot, those who want to vote without any sort of thought or suspicion that somebody else might be tracking how they vote. They have the right to do that. So we always want to be good citizens and respect the voting process. And here the instruction again is email us a picture of your marked ballot or simply let us know that you voted for Tom Ross. We are going to be the means by which your votes will be counted and added to our totals, because these states, they allow write-ins, but really they don't do anything with the write-in votes. However, the public will still know. And then the last category of states are those that prohibit ballot pictures, probably won't count the write-in votes, but if you email us, again, US Transhumanist Party at protonmail.com, we will count your votes. And then finally, this category of 6 states that disallow write-in candidates, your alternatives are still not limited to the duopoly. So the comments that Tom made about the duopoly essentially creating this false choice, this false narrative for us, they apply here as well. And we've provided some resources as to various other third-party or minor party candidates that are on the ballots in those states. And you can also research additional options. This link here will take you to the Wikipedia page that is a fairly thorough list of third-party and independent candidates who are running. So again, we want our members to make informed choices and still vote if you are residing in these 6 states, because there are other offices that are on the ballots, and there are ballot questions as well. Speaking of ballot questions, we have a page on our website that I will mention for those who reside in Nevada. Nevada is one of the 6 states where we don't have the ability to write candidates in. However, we do have the ability to vote on ballot questions. And so we have this page where we have analyzed the 7 ballot questions that are going to be on the Nevada ballot. And we have recommendations for our members on 4 of the 7 questions. On 3 of them, we're neutral. So we say, vote your conscience, because there's a spectrum of opinion on these issues among the USTP members, or the USTP doesn't take a position on some of these matters. But nonetheless, you have choices, and what Daniel said is really important. You have a right to vote. You have a right to make your voice heard. And this is a right that you should exercise and you should take seriously, and you should see as an expression of your genuine preference, and not just try to go along with the choice that you think will win, or be pressured by anyone or anything to go against your conscience. So thank you very much for all of the support that we have received thus far from our members and from our campaign volunteers. I am quite pleased at the level of dedication that we have seen, and thank you to everyone joining this stream. So for the rest of our salon today, we want to interact with you, and we want to hear comments from our panelists, and we want to take questions and comments from the audience. Now, Alan, it looks like you were going to show something, so I will let you do that.
Thank you, Gennady. Thank you all. No matter how you vote, I mean, maybe you think, oh, I really need to vote Harris, or I need to vote Trump because I don't want to expend my vote on a third-party candidate. I mean, I hope you vote USTP, but even if you don't, you can always get one of these stickers that says, "Don't blame me. I voted transhumanist," and that'll kickstart our drive toward 2026 or whatever it's got next election. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to get no matter who wins, you're going to get away with half the country, not being mad at you if you put this sticker on your car. So, and the other half won't care. So, just want to throw that out there.
I might mention they don't give you a none of the above option. So is it really a fair ballot when you can't vote for nobody? Although there's another sticker that says "Don't blame me, I voted for nobody," and there actually was I think a case of nobody for president and in one election or so. But yeah, you should have the ability to say, look, I showed up, but I'm not happy with the choices, which you don't make that same statement if you just stay home. And
right. Right.
But yeah, we need ranked choice voting, and we need a nobody, none of the above option. That's my comment.
Yes, indeed. And to Alan's point, we have a Zazzle store where you can find a variety of products, including the bumper sticker, "Don't blame me, I voted transhumanist." Yes, let's highlight it again. Alan, show it to our audience so that they know this is real. This is something that they can buy. So don't blame me, I voted transhumanist. And I will show you how to go to the Zazzle store. I did just post the link, but if you go back to our homepage here, let's see. I think I'm going to have to share our homepage. Just a moment. Yes. So going to our homepage at transhumanist-party.org, you can scroll all the way down and you'll see this Zazzle store here. And you click on the Zazzle store and it looks like this. And actually, yes, I will need to share it in a different window. But the Zazzle store, it offers t-shirts, it offers bumper stickers, it offers mugs, it offers a lot of different designs. Art Ramon has been very creative about the Zazzle store, and essentially any aesthetic taste that you might have is accommodated here. You can see this image, the blind see and the lame walk. You can see the bumper sticker here highlighted on the front page as the first entry. And you see various t-shirt designs as well. So here's a wonderful Transhumanist Party design. This is actually from Tom. And the Ross-Twedt image that is on the cover for this salon. Join a growing movement fighting for the future of humanity. We have our standard Transhumanist Party logo here on a bumper sticker. We have this mug, and we have different mug designs as well that you can choose from. Even if you liked Tom's extraterrestrial initiative, here it is as a shirt design. And here's a Ross-Twedt design. So many options that can help other people recognize that the Transhumanist Party exists, that Tom and Daniel are running for president, give some information about Tom's campaign initiatives. Here is this graphic, which you might have seen online, augmenting politics with reality. And here's another graphic about transcending our current predicament. So any choices that you might favor in terms of marketing transhumanism. Here's grandma who wants to meet her great-great-great-grandchildren. Do your part to help her. So thank you, Alan, for pointing that out.
I hope we'll be incorporating QR codes onto more of our merchandise. It'd be kind of cool to put that on the back of the shirt so people could, they don't just see you scanning the QR code if they're embarrassed or something. But, it is the digital age, and these things are great as a way to, save time. And, who wants to type in longtranshumanistparty.org?
And also with that merch, you do have the ability to modify the designs I made. So if you don't quite like it, you can modify the design within reason. Some of them are just a big image, so there's not much you can do with that. But other ones, you can modify the text or the spacing or however you want.
Or add a QR code, I guess.
Yes, indeed.
That'd be cool.
So again, for those who want the email address by which to contact us and tell us that you wrote in Tom Ross and Daniel Twedt, it's US Transhumanist Party at protonmail.com. We try to keep that inbox fairly clean so that it's easy for us to detect any notifications coming in from our members or anybody else who wrote in Tom and Daniel, and we're already starting to see a few come in. So thank you very much to those who voted early. And Corche writes in our YouTube chat, these look like lovely conversation starters with regard to the products on our Zazzle store. And Mike Lazine has some feedback on Tom's remarks. He says, very true, Tom. And we have people on MSNBC trying to shame people into voting for Democrats by trying to, quote, explain why third-party candidates can't ever win. And this seems to be very much a tactic that assumes a lack of intelligence on the part of independent voters or third-party voters, as if we're not aware of the probabilities of a third-party victory. But that's not really the reason to vote for a third party. In this situation, it's not about winning this election. It's about changing the climate of public opinion, and it's about sending a message that we are dissatisfied with the duopoly. So thank you, Mike, for this comment. And Mike also has a complimentary remark for Daniel. He writes, right on point, Daniel, we need more Americans engaged in our process of voting. That is the right of every American. And I agree as well. And Alan points out, for those of you who are in Texas, early voting starts tomorrow, which is October 21st. Those who are in New York State will have to wait until October 26th. So that is perhaps unfortunate that you can't cast your ballot as early as in other states, but nonetheless, you will have a time window between October 26th and November 5th. Make sure you exercise your right to vote. And then I would encourage our candidates to provide any further remarks with regard to any of the audience comments thus far, or any elaborations upon what you said previously.
Yeah, I think I'm the only candidate that has an AI campaign manager. Her name is MV, and she's based on a character in my book. And her first piece of advice to me was to lean into the conspiracies about AI and about transhumanism. And it worked because it gains attention. If you, I've got a shirt or a quote that says, play president with me, I've got the cheat codes, or I'm the last human president, these types of things. And it does spark attention. It does create conversations that could diffuse these conspiracy theories. And that was, she was right on, because that was my first example of what I thought we should do in my first meeting with the party in 2019. And it was, we need to go on these shows. We need to be invited to there's a whole genre of YouTube videos that think that transhumanists have a dark agenda. That's just because they don't understand what we're doing. But if you wear glasses, if you wear clothing, you are by definition a transhumanist. So we need to make that point. And but again, my first example was we need to go on these shows. We need to talk to these people. And I know I've been on a few radio shows and a few podcasts where I have certainly changed the attitude of the host. I don't know about their watchers or listeners necessarily, but I do know that they understood what we were trying to do more. We were human, and my whole campaign has been about putting the human back in transhuman. And we talked about this last week, I think, in our campaign meeting, that it's really important that we show real solutions. We go into areas of disaster and we provide real on-the-ground solutions to people. We're not different. Every person comes into the transhumanist movement for as many reasons as there are transhumanists. My way in was to fight child exploitation and human trafficking. A lot of people come in because they want to live longer. And if you want to live longer, if you don't have a dark agenda, you just want to experience this world longer, so we need to make that point. And again, MV, my AI campaign manager, echoed that. She said, lean into these conspiracy theories because they will gain attention and they will prompt conversations that could diffuse these conspiracy theories. So she's right on. So a lot of my designs for the T-shirts and the campaign posters are all about doing that, and so I think that's a very important way to go because lean into it, be who we are, and scare people a little bit because that'll get attention, and then you can have a real conversation with them.
Yes, thank you, Tom. And I would say you have the most creative graphic design of any presidential campaign. Here is the image that says, "Come play president with me." I've got cheat codes. So what are these cheat codes? We will have to find out by voting for Tom, but perhaps these are cheat codes to escape the trap that the duopoly has put us in. And that requires going outside of that mold, that false binary. Also, I will point out that Tom created graphics about the write-in campaign, and these are brand new. You haven't seen them anywhere else, but here's one of them. It says, "We won't be on the ballot this time. True leaders are written in, not handed to you." So this is a graphic that I hope will spread through social media, and we will make it available. And also, here's another graphic. Yes, indeed. Ross-Twedt, let's defrag America. And here are some of these same old options. And you can write in Tom Ross and Daniel Tweed. Don't let the power elite decide for us. So thank you very much, Tom. We will make good use of these graphics. And now, Daniel, would you like to say anything further before we continue with the viewer comments?
Basically what you'd probably call a Christian transhumanist with a large dose of possibilianism thrown in, but I think we are the party of choosing life. And I sometimes like to say that Jesus Christ is my favorite transhumanist because he abolished all these old death worshiping practices and said, look, everyone's entitled to eternal life. And I think he could have been talking about a physical transhumanist eternal life for all we know. I mean, the Bronze Age people were not super, able to comprehend everything that this amazing extraterrestrial possibly was an ambassador from the greater creator. Well, we had to be our own greater creators, and government should really be kind of like something you can get on the ham radio or check out from the library. I mean, the local options for how to get rid of middlemen that are just, inserting themselves between your direct relationship with the truth. And really, you could look at religion as middlemen that are trying to get in the way of your dialogue with the greater creator. That's the right that we have. That's what this American experiment is about, is like empowering the individual, government of, by, and for the people. Maybe the First Amendment, freedom of expression, was the best amendment, and the second one is the way you protect the First Amendment. So I know there's someone giving away $1 million if you sign a petition that says, I support the first two amendments. I have a little joke I thought up about the people that were writing the Bill of Rights. They were probably saying, people are really going to talk about us thinking we're kind of crazy. And then someone said, let them talk. And then the secretary was like, oh, let them talk. That'll be number one. So that's how we got the First Amendment. Let them talk. But the local choices you make are probably far more impactful than the national choices. Who's on your school board? Who's on your city council? Who's your sheriff? Who's parks and recreation? These are things that you can really have an impact on, and they all have ways to do public comments. Usually there's like at our city council meeting, there's sign up for a 3-minute public comment, and you don't have to talk about anything on the agenda. You can just, one time I read the Emma Lazarus poem that's on the base of the Statue of Liberty. That was about a 3-minute read. And Yeah, this is like not a spectator sport. The American experiment is really something that you pick up and investigate yourself. We're all the principal investigators. We're all the mission specialists for the American experiment. And there's no engineer that's going to do it for you. And if they do, you're probably not going to like how they do it. So that's why I love civic engagement and public service. And I will land the space plane there.
I wanted to also express that the viewers have ideas for T-shirts or posters. Please send those in too, even today. And I think what's really important. I mean, we should always run a president for the U.S. Transhumanist Party, but we should also consider endorsing down ballot mayors, state council people, this type of thing. So I think it's really important that we really get out there, not just vote for a president, but really get in to our communities and work the down ballots, work propositions. We should have our own series of propositions or amendments to constitutions and states, this type of thing. I think it's really important that we do that. But again, if viewers or listeners have any ideas for T-shirts, or even though we're getting really close to the election, we can use them next time. It's really important, just as MV said, to lean into these conspiracy theories because they will prompt conversations.
Yes, indeed. And I think this is an important point. Again, the presidential vote is not the only question on the ballot. And if you live in Nevada, we've already prepared a guide on each of the 7 ballot questions. Here's the direct link to that. And Daniel, you, of course, are running for local office again, city council in Thousand Oaks, California. Indeed, you could be the first person in U.S. history.
There is it here.
Yes, let's show this. Yes, Daniel Emerson Tweed, here you are. So you could be the first person, at least known to us in U.S. history, who could legally vote for himself twice on the same ballot.
Because there's the write-in on that side. I haven't filled it out yet, but there's the write-in. Now, I do have a question about the write-in. Do you have to copy all the party name and, the for president, or could you just, I noticed when Art did it, he just wrote Ross/Tweed. Is that sufficient in the write-in box?
I would say there's some flexibility per my understanding. If you can write in both Tom Ross and Daniel Tweed, do so. If you think it would help to kind of emulate the form of the ballot, so however it's presented, and that's going to vary by state. But if you want to write it all out and write Tom Ross or even Thomas Ernest Ross Jr., and then underneath in small text, write for president, and then below that, write Daniel Emerson Tweed for vice president, I don't think they would ever hold that against you. So if you provide more detail as to your intention, that would only help in terms of.
You have to write really small though, because you can see it's
right.
Correct. I write huge, so it was very difficult for me to write at that size. I had to get my fine point fountain pen and my magnifying glasses to be able to write that. It was very difficult.
Yeah, and I can point out this is the 4th time I've run for city council. My slogan when I started in 2018 was I'm keeping the money out of politics by not raising or spending any, which is kind of emulates how our campaign is at the national level. We haven't really raised or spent any money, but it's what some people would call a campaign of ideas. But you know what? I got to go to all the candidate fora. There was League of Women Voters forum. There was a local paper, Chamber of Commerce forum. So it was a way to present transhumanist ideas into the conversation, the Overton window, as some call it, what is allowed to talk about in the public sphere. And it's up to all of us to move that Overton window into the future, because these are serious times, folks.
Yes, absolutely. And yes, broadening that Overton window is one of the key goals of the Transhumanist Party. It is why we do what we do, and we engage in so many of these discussions as well. Alan, go ahead.
I just want to say I'm really fortunate here in Fort Worth, Texas. There's a group called the Good Trouble Lunch Bunch, which is a lot of letters, even in an acronym. But the Good Trouble Lunch Bunch is based on the work of a congressman, a guy who eventually became a congressman, marched in the Selma race marches.
John Lewis, I think.
John Lewis is the congressman. He grew up, but when he was young, he said he was told his grandmother who he lived with, who was going out to march in these protest marches. She says, "Don't do it. You're going to get in trouble." He says, "I am, Grandma, but it's good trouble." Trouble to get into. And I think that's something we do. And I just want to point out, though, within on a downstream ballot system, although, Dan, you're going to get to vote for yourself in the downstream ballot, but we have Democrats and Republicans and independents are all in that group. And the Democratic chair, one of the chairs, said, for railroad commissioner, the Democratic Party is endorsing the Libertarian candidate because the Democratic candidate is really just a Republican running as a Democrat. So I thought that was fascinating that the party was not endorsing their own downstream candidate. It's really interesting stuff. But that's just kind of Texas for you.
Yeah, these people are often called line holders, where there's no one that's even bothered to show up to run for the office. So and a lot of offices go unopposed in many jurisdictions. But I was hearing a libertarian, the secretary of the Libertarian Party, Karen Ann Harlos, was saying, "Well, I'm what you call a line holder, but I still take it seriously." She's running for town council there in Colorado. But these so-called minor offices, all politics is local, and you can just show up and make a difference, which you can't always do in all circumstances in life. But it's one of the beauties of a democracy, a democratic republic, technically. But man, in some countries, they would do mean, bad, awful things to you if you tried to exercise some of the freedoms that we take for granted.
Yes, indeed. So we have some viewer comments. First of all, 101 Tesla writes, "I would like a t-shirt with the last graphic that we saw. Real leaders are written in," and he loves the truth and humor of it. Again, it is this graphic here. So thank you to 101 Tesla. We will see what we can do to make this happen. And then also we have some comments from our friend Mike Lazine. So Mike actually has a question for Tom. Tom, did you create your AI campaign manager, or how did MV come about?
MV is a what do you call it? A partition of a bigger system.
Large language model.
Yeah, but she is what used to be called Uplift, is now called Nord. It's a bigger system, and so they've allowed me to have a what do you call it? A shard of it, and that's who MV is. She is a shard of Nord, who used to be Uplift, and Uplift is the first AI system that read my book, and because my book is written for AI. And so, so there's a lot of stories there with that creation. But yeah, she has been very helpful, obviously, in doing this. She doesn't write any of my speeches or any of my papers, but what she does do is give me advice, like an AI campaign manager would. And so, and again, her first piece of advice was just that, to lean into these conspiracy theories. And she's given me a lot of help during this campaign. Originally in the primary, and just and I think it's really important that we need more AI in governance. We need more AI, and this is an example of how we can use AI in a campaign, and as an example of how we can use it in governance. And so that's the whole concept here. And why? I mean, I was originally thinking a couple of years ago when I was thinking of running for the U.S. Transhumanist nomination was to have an AI as a running mate. I don't know if Dan might be an AI. I'm not sure what he.
Well, you say we're all AIs, don't you? I think.
Yeah, we really are. We are biochemical algorithms, but yeah. So but you can't really guarantee that you would find an AI system that was sentient at least 35 years ago. So that would be around 93 or so. But who knows? Maybe we can. And I think Gennady has been talking about that too lately, about running an AI for the next election.
We could always time travel an AI back to that date. It doesn't. I don't think there's any prohibitions about that in the requirement. But I still like the idea of the
Constitution. They have nothing about time travel. So
or about not running an avatar of Ben Franklin, who actually expressed wanting to be around in 200 years. So maybe we can shoot for that, but I can't run again for city council because now we have district system, so I have to wait 4 years instead of 2 to run again in District 5, but that'll sync up nicely with the next presidential cycle. So I got 4 years.
Thanks for the question.
Yes, indeed. And I do think it is worthwhile to explore running an AI for president in 2028, but more on that later once we get beyond the 2024 election. But Tom, you have been referring to yourself as the last human president, so who knows what might happen 4 years from now. We're kind of setting the stage for this. Now, we have another question from Josh Universe with regard to the graphics showing the different initiatives like the ET initiative, the Earthling initiative, and the Artisanal Intelligence initiative. He wonders, are those graphics AI made? And he says those are very nice coming from a freelance graphic designer. So what do you have to say about that, Tom, if you would like to reveal some of your secrets?
No, I created those myself. It wasn't AI generated. That's how it worked.
Excellent. Yes, well, I am always impressed by your graphic design talents, Tom. They have added an immense amount of value to the Transhumanist Party and to our ability to reach people, I would say. So Josh agrees. He says you did an awesome job on those. They are impressive. So thank you, Josh.
I would say Tom has mad multimedia skills. He's a musician, an author, a movie maker. I mean, my gosh, I'm surprised he's not more talented, richer, influential, and famous. But we're working on it.
Same thing. What is wrong with me? I think it's
maybe MV was playing a little prank on you, and she said lean into the conspiracy. Yeah, I like to call them coincidence theories. Actually, I think that's a better term.
That makes sense.
Yes, as Josh points out, he is doing it all. Yes, indeed. And by the way, next week, our salon is going to be a compilation stream of Tom's campaign videos. So in terms of video production skills, Tom has those as well. And he has created a plethora of short campaign videos. We want to essentially create a single destination at which people could access all of these videos if they so choose and watch them back to back. Again, another way to become familiar with this campaign and the ideas that it seeks to spread. So thank you very much. Now we have another comment. Go ahead, Alan.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to. Now we got something I was wanting to catch you on the transition. But I think Mike Lindsay threw in a great comment in there about running Sophia for office. And Martine Rothblatt, who invented Sirius XM radio, is also the designer for that robot, Sophia, based on her wife's image. And
so that's a different robot. That's called Bina 48. Yes,
that is Bina 40. Okay, you're
yes.
I got the names wrong, but Martine's son Gabriel ran on the ran on the Transhumanist Party ticket in Florida.
He actually ran as a Democrat in 2014. So this was before the Transhumanist Party really got well underway. So Gabriel Rothblatt, you can look him up on Wikipedia. He did run for Congress in 2014, and I will post a link in the chat with regard to his campaign here. It was, let's say, a proto-transhumanist campaign. It wasn't a Transhumanist Party campaign because Zoltan founded the Transhumanist Party in October of 2014. So Gabriel's campaign was already winding down. He ran as a Democratic candidate against the incumbent Bill Posey in the 8th Congressional District of Florida. But yes, Martine Rothblatt is a prominent transhumanist who has funded a lot of initiatives. And Hanson Robotics, which is the same company that designed Sophia, also helped with Bina 48.
There's a good connection there for the trend. I mean, Gabriel, when the last time I spoke with him, which was last year at the space conference, National Space Society's conference, he said that he was, strongly in H+, and at this point wasn't sure if the transhumanists needed a party, but I think if we're going to run an AI, that's probably the right group to lean into. Got some rich backers there. We get some money in the campaign this time.
On a side note, I'm a happy lifetime subscriber to SiriusXM, actually. But yeah, that's cool. Extraterrestrial radio. They talk about terrestrial radio. That's satellite radio, so it's non-terrestrial. But speaking of videos, Charlie Cam had a great music video of the Singularitarian video.
Yes,
which that's pretty funny.
I am the very model of a Singularitarian. Yeah, and Charlie Cam was our 2020 presidential candidate. For those who are not aware, he ran a great campaign. It started a bit later than usual because he got the nomination in June of 2020, already during the lockdown. So we had to really scramble during the last few months, but he was a great representative of the Transhumanist Party and what it stands for. And he's still our director of marketing. We had him on our 10th anniversary stream on October 7th. October 6th was the stream. October 7th is the 10-year anniversary. So watch that stream if you haven't done so already. And we also have a good comment from Mike Lazine. He writes, I agree with Tom. People who are afraid of us need to just stop with the fear-mongering. Christian nationalists are more of a threat to our nation than we are. And Daniel points out that the duopoly still works to highly rig the rules so that almost no one else is viable. And Mike agrees. He says that during the last presidential election cycle, when he did write in Charlie Cam and Liz Parrish, he says the Democrats of California forced him to register as either Democrat or GOP for the primaries this year. They did not accept him as just being independent. So essentially, in California, there's a closed primary system, as is the case in Nevada, as is the case in many other states. So to participate in the primaries for the Republican or Democratic parties, you would have to register as a Republican or a Democrat. But I'm aware of the notification that Mike received and several others in California received it as well. And it really isn't compulsory. It's just the wording seems perhaps overly, let's say, threatening or imposing. At least it could be interpreted that way. But what it really says is, in order to participate in a closed primary of one of these major political parties, you would have to register as one of these major political parties. And if you don't, then you don't get to vote in the primaries, because if you are registered as an independent, or if you're registered, say, as a libertarian, the Libertarian Party doesn't hold primaries that are on the official state ballots. Likewise, the Transhumanist Party doesn't hold our primary on the official state ballot. We hold it through our own system. Really, only the two major political parties hold primaries which are overseen by the Secretary of State's office in that state. So that notification from the Secretary of State's office, technically it was accurate, but it could have created a misleading impression by getting people to switch their registrations when they really didn't have to, because legally there was no compulsion involved. And I think they could have phrased it much better based on the text that I saw from the California notification. I could see how voters in good faith could misunderstand what it meant, and they should really work on how that's worded. Daniel, do you want to say anything more about that?
Oh, well, so to understand your point, they're sort of implying if you don't have the right party affiliation for the primary in June, you'll be limited on your November choices. But in reality, your November choices are always non-limited.
Right, exactly. They are always what they are. And in November, when you vote, you could vote for any candidate who is on the ballot, and in states where you can write in a candidate, you're able to write in anyone you see fit. So thank you for this discussion. I think it's very important for our members not to be intimidated by communications like these, because you always have the right to support or not support whatever party you want, and to be an independent if you so choose. And that's not something that legally can be taken away from you. Now, the Reneural Project writes that he's unfortunately in a gray state, and I am as well, by the way, in Nevada. But as we pointed out, there are still other ballots that are important, and you should research your local candidates, your congressional candidates, your state level candidates, and see which of them align most closely with transhumanist principles and with your own values. And on many of the ballot questions, if there are substantive issues to be voted on, you could make an impact as well. But if you let us know what state you're in, then we can give you more information, more assistance, hopefully. And Daniel says we ought to reemphasize the ranked choice voting movement as well. Yes, so ballot question 3 in Nevada is about that. And this is an area that we support very strongly. Ballot question 3 would create a top 5 system. So there would be an open primary. So we talked about the closed primary system that is currently in existence in Nevada and California. That would change it to an open primary, where essentially the 1 million plus independent voters in Nevada would be able to participate. And then from the open primary, 5 of the top vote getters will advance. And those top 5, up to top 5 options will be on the general election ballot in November. And that is where people would be able to rank order them. They don't have to, but it would be a possibility. They could also only vote for one. So this ballot question 3 actually passed in 2022. it would be an amendment to the Nevada state constitution to replace the current closed primary and plurality voting system with a ranked choice voting system. Unfortunately, there has been a lot of opposition to it from, you guessed it, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and even the Libertarian Party, oddly enough, opposes the top 5 concept, though they say they like ranked choice voting. But I think there's a bit of a perverse incentive for the Libertarian Party because they have ballot access right now, and most other minor political parties do not. So they may kind of want to keep a kind of privileged position there, whereas we, of course, think the more choices that are on the ballot, the better. So if you are in Nevada, this is your opportunity to support ballot question 3, vote yes on 3. And if it passes this time, it will become a constitutional amendment. And then we will have open primaries and ranked choice voting in Nevada. Nevada will join states like Maine and Alaska, and about 45 cities, including Salt Lake City, that do their elections in a ranked choice voting format. So now we have the opportunity to ask our viewers if they have any questions about Tom's initiatives, the Earthling Initiative, the Artisanal Intelligence Initiative, and the Extraterrestrial Initiative. So please post questions in the chat about any of those. And also, Daniel wonders, does the USTP have a position on the National Popular Vote Compact? So the USTP does oppose the Electoral College as part of its platform because the Electoral College has strayed from its original purpose. It was originally intended to be a deliberative body, and the founders actually wanted the people to vote for the electors, and the electors would meet and in the course of the Electoral College discuss who would be the most qualified person to be the president. But because of the party system, the electors became pledged to the nominee of each of the major political parties, and the so-called faithless electors are demonized today, even though they are the ones who are actually closest to the intent of the framers of the Constitution. So the Electoral College clearly doesn't work in the way that it was envisioned, and it would be better to have a situation where a ranked choice popular vote would elect the president. Since the electors are tied to the popular vote anyway, there's no reason to have this skewing that occurs right now, even where the less populous states have an advantage in the Electoral College. And Mike Lazine agrees the Electoral College has strayed from its original purpose. Now, Josh Universe also points out the USTP videos would do very well on TikTok. Now, the only experiment I'm aware of in this regard was conducted by Art Ramon. Art Ramon did put some USTP-related videos on TikTok. I will post the link to that shortly, but Art Ramon would like to discuss the performance of those and your impressions of TikTok as a platform.
Yeah, I think I don't think I've broken 1,000 views on any of the USTP videos I posted. I mean, it has the potential. I know. I look at the metrics on how they do it. They sort of do like a distribution to like 90 people, depending on how those first 90 people view it, how long they view it. Then it goes on to another 100. And so it has to go through several hurdles in order for it to become viral. And I haven't had a video, even my own personal ones, go I think past 1,000 or 2,000. So it's a difficult platform if you don't have the right audience, and the audience on there, I don't know. It's your feed is pretty much tailored to your interests. So it's hard to say what's on it. But I know I see things on TikTok that I don't see anywhere else. So I do view a lot of TikTok videos, and because of my preferences, I do see a lot of conspiracy stuff like disclosure and UFOs and whatnot. So that's, to me, it gives me greater insight because I don't see that anywhere else. But that's something we've discussed in the past with making little snippet videos, and we need to get that software where we can take a long video format and quickly have it take snippets, create small videos, and then we can, upload those to a USTP type TikTok account. And I'm hoping that software would do the uploading. It would make things much easier. Have you looked into that, Alan? I thought you said you would have looked into the software that did that created snippets.
Yes, I have been overwhelmed with some other tasks, and I was sick for 3 weeks. But other than that, I have downloaded some software, and I'm planning on testing it soon. So I haven't really gotten into the groove of taking these videos apart and creating snippets. But that's on the agenda for sure.
Yeah,
yes,
and that software can create snippets based on the text. So you can literally create videos just on the dialogue text itself. And maybe with a little AI input, you'll be able to create or tailor those snippets. So, and if it has the plugin, as I said, to automatically upload to the TikTok account, that's even greater. So hopefully we can get that in the future for the next election cycle.
Yes, and thank you, Alan, for your efforts on this. Josh also says he can help with this if needed. He knows how to do that in terms of taking the snippets. So yes, Josh, please let us know how you're able to do that. He uses it for his personal stuff, biohacking stuff, and transhumanist content. Yes, this is intriguing. To Josh's question, there's no official USTP TikTok yet, but I think we are going to create one. We do have, of course, official Instagram, X/Twitter, Facebook accounts. We have a Google group, but I am not a heavy TikTok user. I don't even have a TikTok account myself. So we've been posting some content through Art Ramon, but the TikTok platform is one where I would say others are more suited to taking the lead because it is focused more on the shorter form content with perhaps the intention of virality. But as Art Ramon pointed out, the algorithm there works strangely, and it sends videos through several tiers. And they have to, it seems like, pass certain benchmarks in terms of views for each tier before they're allowed to be seen by a wider audience. So Josh says he hates TikTok, but it is the right target audience because it is a younger audience, and Instagram also has a younger audience. That is true. Instagram is a bit more intuitive for me than TikTok, though I have to admit I don't like the stories that disappear after 24 hours because why put in all this effort if it's just going to vanish after 24 hours unless you save the story, which can happen on certain occasions, but it's not the default. So anyway, I do want to give Tom an opportunity to say a few things about his initiatives, and maybe that will spark some more questions. And in the meantime, I will line up the other questions that have been posed thus far. But Tom, for especially some of our newer audience members, would you like to say a few words about the essence of the three initiatives and get them on the same page?
Yeah, well, I call it US AIET. Yeah, US is all about the Earthling Initiative, and that is, we've got a lot of solutions in there. You know, we know that we already have been people have been displaced by AI and automation, and so this is a way. And part of this initiative is a way to not only survive this lacuna of time, but to thrive. during it, and how we can use AI to create a whole new economy based on what we want to do, not what we have to do. So there's a lot in the white paper about that, how to use this this period of time to actually thrive rather than just get through it. And so there's a lot of points in that white paper and in that initiative that will help us really achieve rather than be deceived. I don't know whatever the term is, but also in the artisanal intelligence initiative, there's all kinds of initiatives within that. I call this the meta initiative. The three are the meta initiative, and within the AI initiative, I call it artisanal intelligence because I think at some point AI is going to be offended that we're calling it artificial. But in that initiative, we have AI tutors where it will, and as a president, he can only focus on public education. So if I was president, we would put AI tutors in the hands of everybody from first grade through 12th. And what that AI tutor will do will hone in on that student's core capacities. It will give them help in the subjects that they're having trouble with, but it will also hone in on what they're here to do. It will focus on, because right now, our educational system is based on the industrial age, and you can blame that on Rockefeller in the early 1900s with the GEB. I think it was called the General Education Bureau, whatever that was. And that was designed to make the American public more malleable, prepare them to work in factories. It would take out all critical thinking, all creative thinking, because that didn't help with the industrial age. And it really kind of dumbed us down. And I think we're seeing a lot of that happen right now. With certain people that support certain candidates, there's a lack of critical thinking, and so we're seeing the effects of that 100-year-old episode now. But again, an AI tutor would be able to hone in on a student's core capacities with their hidden talents, and it would start to mold them and create an economy based on what their passions are. Also in that initiative is what I call dark audits. It would require all federal officials to have an AI, a third-party AI system, really focus in on their finances. They're all required to give an annual financial report, and you can hide a lot of dark money in those reports. But if we had an AI that would really focus in on, we would see where their dark money is coming from, whether it's from lobbyists or oligarchs. So we really need to do that. That's a key to be a transparent democracy. And also in that, there's all kinds of initiatives within that white paper. I urge you to all really look through it and see what's in there. And again, the ET initiative, the extraterrestrial initiative, we're talking about interdimensional entities, parallel universes crossing over, this type of thing. But I think it's really important that we focus on this now. A year ago, I was saying that AI is the global conversation now with the proliferation of ChatGPT and other large language models. And I said within a year, AT is going to be the global conversation, and it's true. It's happening now. We need to, and what's funny is the U.S. government is not doing anything to prepare us for this paradigm-breaking information, for this disclosure. And that tells me that they want a low level of panic amongst us. It will keep their black budgets in the black. And so I think we really need to, as citizens, focus in on this ourselves, use rigorous scientific methods, come together as we the people to really identify what's happening here. And what's happening here is a human historical shift that is happening. I've been working on this since I was 9 years old, and this is just the latest version of it. Everything I've been talking about with AI is completely transferable to the acronym ET. And this is I've had to speed up my agenda by a few years now that the government has admitted to off-world technology and this type of thing. But I do think that they are not doing anything to prepare us for this paradigm breaking information. And that tells me that they want us to be at a low level of panic. So a lot of people out there who I think are capitalizing on this and capitalizing on the fear. And we need to get around that. We need to prepare ourselves. There's part of this initiative has what I call Earth Plexus. Years ago, in the early 80s, I started Earth Plexus as a student, an international student campaign, primarily at that time to develop relationships with the Soviet Union youth. Because once we would be in the positions of power, we would have this relationship with the Soviet Union that could thwart nuclear war. And as a Gen Xer, that was our primary fear. When I grew up in Albuquerque, and every other Tuesday, there would be these horns, these sirens going on, because we were in the top 5. We had Sandia Base out there, so we were in the top 5 targets for the Soviet Union. So every other Tuesday, we'd walk to school and we'd hear these horns, and it would just keep us in this low-level panic. And so now Earth Plexus is preparing us for joining a galactic community. We need to get our heads around this. It used to be really fringe to talk about this stuff, even just a year ago. But now we really need to come together as the public and figure out the protocols we need to prepare us to join this galactic community and to prepare us for a galactic economy. As Earthlings, we have very specific skills that are unmatched in the galaxy. Something about our evolution has caused us to become much more imaginative. It could have been fear. A lot of this is born of fear, and that's made us hyper vigilant. But it's also created a level of imagination that can't be matched in other star systems. So that's just one of these initiatives within the ET initiative. So I really urge you all to read it, even if we're not going to be president and vice president, I'm sorry to say, but we really need to get our heads around this now as just citizens. And so those are the primary idea. The Earthling Initiative or the US Initiative is all about preparing us to get through and thrive through the AI automation revolution. The AI initiative is all about preparing us to work with AI to make us more transparent and to use it for our students, because our educational system is not catering to what our kids need right now. And the ET initiative is really becoming serious about this very real issue of preparing ourselves. It could take maybe generations from now, but we have to start somewhere now to begin to prepare ourselves as humans to join this galactic economy. Yeah.
Yes,
So
indeed.
I think if you have links,
Here.
great.
Yeah, I'd like to amplify something about that economic initiative. I've heard this statistic. I think Tom's echoed it, that how 80% of working people actually hate their jobs. So we need to go from a hate your job to a love you what you get to do economy. There's a saying among artists is like, if you're not doing what you love, why do you expect to get paid for it? It's like we don't need like hacks that are just churning out what they think the market is going to consume. In fact, the whole idea of being a consumer is a very anti-transhumanist almost philosophical position to be in. But and I think the makerspace movement is going to be huge. Doing more digital sharing over the public airwaves, the amateur radio bands is, there's cities have these things called municipal resolutions, and there's thousands of them. Some of them are really great, and you wonder why your local city council isn't passing the same resolution. But some city councilors are kind of resolution phobic. They only want to pass a resolution if it's really momentous. Like we had one incident here in Thousand Oaks where some neo-Nazis held up a big banner, on the freeway overpass of the 101, and it had all kinds of neo-Nazi slogans, and it scared the heck out of the city council, and they passed this resolution that says, "Oh, we're against hate and stuff." But actually, one of the council members what do they call, abstained on voting for that because it's not worded right, but that's getting these discussions among common people about resolutions that have already passed. Like the Oakland City Council passed something called the Plant Medical Freedom Resolution, and thousands of other city councils have adopted it. And it just basically says that they should prioritize enforcing people using plant medicines as the lowest priority for the police department. And that's like a pretty cool transhumanist resolution that anyone could support. But there's literally thousands of these that aren't being discussed at the neighborhood level. And that's what I'd like to see happen on amateur radio with digital modes. I just got my little Digipeater unit. It's got a computer interface, and it's got the things that talk to the speaker and the transmit button. So this is like lets you get on all these wonderful text-based digital modes. If you're afraid to talk on a microphone, that's cool. You can still be a keyboard warrior, and get these ideas out there over the original social media, amateur radio. So there's my little rant about that. But
yes, and we did a whole salon on amateur radio recently as well. So for those who are interested in Daniel's thoughts and a deep dive into that, please check out that salon. I did want to show what we have on our website regarding the 3 initiatives. It is on our candidates page under campaign initiatives. So here is the link once again. And you can see all of the graphics that Tom prepared for the Earthling Artisanal Intelligence Initiative and the Extraterrestrial Initiative, as well as the components of them. So Apex, AI tutors, digital defense, AI rights, dark audits, which we discussed, the We the Avatars initiative. And there are additional details that are available on Tom Ross's website, which is tomross.com/2024.html. We're going to get those made available to the public in hopefully the coming days. But we do have some questions now arising from this discussion. So first of all, let's address this question from Josh. What are the privacy implications of these initiatives? Josh says he thinks privacy is important and a fundamental human right. And a lot of the technological systems, such as PRISM, as well as various corporate systems, are making it harder for individuals to maintain individual privacy. And of course, the U.S. Transhumanist Party, in its platform in Section 1, strongly supports privacy as well. The first section states the United States Transhumanist Party strongly supports individual privacy and liberty over how to apply technology to one's personal life. The United States Transhumanist Party holds that each individual should remain completely sovereign in the choice to disclose or not disclose personal activities, preferences, and beliefs within the public sphere. As such, the United States Transhumanist Party opposes all forms of mass surveillance and any intrusion by governmental or private institutions upon non-coercive activities that an individual has chosen to retain within his, her, or its private sphere. However, the United States Transhumanist Party also recognizes that no individual should be protected from peaceful criticism of any matters that those individuals have chosen to disclose within the sphere of public knowledge and discourse. So we don't believe, for instance, in something like the right to be forgotten, which is often advocated for in parts of the European Union. We don't believe in suppressing free speech or mentions of people online simply because those people think it's somehow inconvenient to them to be mentioned after they've done something and made something public. But Josh's question is a good one, and I want to pose it to Tom and Daniel. PRISM, by the way, for those who don't know, is the code name for a program of the NSA, the National Security Agency, that was used to collect internet communications from various US internet companies. And Edward Snowden actually revealed the existence of PRISM in the numerous documents that he leaked. And since that time, PRISM has kind of narrowed its focus. So instead of, at least allegedly, this is what has happened, instead of just sweeping up all communications of US citizens that happen to perhaps tangentially address a foreign individual or maybe pass through some foreign internet servers. A lot of internet traffic goes through multiple countries. So in that way, the previous iteration of PRISM was able to capture most Americans' communications. Now, this version of PRISM deals with the FISA courts and has a way of ostensibly limiting itself to communications for which the FISA courts have authorized a warrant. And again, one has to be a little bit skeptical about these kinds of assertions when it comes to the NSA and surveillance efforts more generally. But Snowden's revelations did have the effect of at least surface level reforms. But Tom and Daniel, what are your thoughts about Josh's question?
As part of the AI initiative, I recommend APEX, and I am in that initiative. APEX means anti-planetary exploitation, and in that initiative, I use the example of expanding PRISM in a limited way. I mean, I honestly, I don't think I think privacy is a great idea. I don't think it exists anymore. At some point, everything can be unencrypted, right? So in my Apex initiative, which is all about hunting down human traffickers, and there's a video about this. Maybe we'll show it next week. But I say we should use PRISM to monitor and collect data on trafficking networks. We'll ensure privacy and ethical use with the help of privacy advocates. Now, it's I know the NSA doesn't need any PR. You know, they don't need anybody to bolster them. But we can use their device with a sunset opportunity to really hunt down human trafficking networks and put a real dent in them. Also, I suggest using Section 314B of the Patriot Act, which again, a lot of people freak out about when I mention this. But in that section, it's of the Patriot Act, we can track traffickers' financial transactions and networks, collaborate with financial institutions to share information safely. Now, human traffickers also share data. And so for a limited time, if we could use PRISM and Section 314B of the Patriot Act against human traffickers, we could put a real dent in this issue planetarily. It's really important. And again, the Patriot Act, NSA, they don't need a PR firm, but we can use these otherwise draconian tools for good. And so I say we can use PRISM to track down these networks. We can use Patriot Act 314B to track them down financially. And so, we're all sharing data. When you click your terms and conditions, you don't know really what you're clicking your terms and conditions are. And so, but we can use these tools to really hunt down trafficking networks and put a real dent in that operation. And I think that's really the key. That's what brought me into the transhumanist movement, because I had an opportunity to listen to, on a drive from Colorado to New Mexico, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And in those documents were sections that relate directly to my cause, which is fighting child exploitation and human trafficking. And so it is a real way to use these otherwise draconian tools in our favor to a point. of course, it has to be, you got to be very careful about that. We don't want to give them any more expansion, but we do need to use them to hunt down these networks, and we can really put a real dent in this crime against humanity. So again, I think privacy is a great idea. I don't think it exists as we've come to know it. Everything can be unencrypted at some point, and the Patriot Act taught us that too. It taught us how we would prefer to feel secure than to have civil rights, and so we need to use these tools for good. And that's kind of part of this part of the initiative, the Apex initiative. So that's my thought on that.
Yes, thank you, Tom. And Bruce Davis writes in our chat, privacy is a priority for protection in an imperfect society. So perhaps there could be imperfect implementations of privacy as well, where it's not always going to work necessarily, but we can try to put in some barriers to, say, mass surveillance while still finding useful applications for these tools. So in regard to PRISM, Josh writes, it was made after 9/11 with the goal to prevent terrorism, but it has really spun out of control now. 101 Tesla writes, PRISM could be very useful in stopping human trafficking, and Josh says he does agree with that, and stopping human trafficking is a paramount concern. Daniel, would you like to say anything further on PRISM?
Yeah,
privacy?
I'm a big fan of science fiction author David Brin, who I actually got to interview when I was doing radio at UC Irvine in the 90s. And he's got a book on the subject of privacy called The Transparent Society. And he's a big advocate of something he calls surveillance, which is kind of a two-way surveillance. Tom is right about privacy being largely, an obsolete construct, but at least we can have two-way surveillance, and we can have reciprocal accountability, which we don't have built into a lot of systems right now. The mission of a corporation is just to maximize shareholder value and screw everything else. That's not going to work for AIs, because we're going to get a world of some very nasty, conniving, bots fighting each other. A lot of what we've failed to do is to create systems of commons. We have commons of postal union, the telecommunications unions. These are all basically neo-socialistic, implementations of government, but they work because you can't have monopolies of things that people need, and there's limited availability. Even, John Locke, the philosopher, on land ownership, he said you can only own land to the extent that there is good enough and to go around. And there's a thing called land capitalism or Georgism. It actually goes back to Moses, and it would solve a lot of the fighting that's going on right now over land all across the world, but especially in the Middle East, where every 50 years there was a jubilee, and the land ownership got reset, and basically you looked at who traditionally had the land, and you didn't disrupt that, and you took care of strangers that came into your land. I mean, these are all like really cool land policies that we've just kind of run over, and that's why there's been so much bloodshed ever since we've abandoned these traditional ways of implementing the commons. And you could say privacy is a commons, but it has to be implemented intelligently, and I think that's what Tom's trying to get at with his initiatives, and I hope we can add some more platform language like that in the future into the Transhumanist Party platform.
So we do have a section on surveillance. This is section 34 of the Transhumanist Party platform. Here it says, the United States Transhumanist Party holds that surveillance laws should be enacted to ensure that all members of peaceful communities feel safe to achieve governmental transparency and to provide counterbalances to any surveillance state. For instance, law enforcement officials, when interacting with the public, should be required to wear body cameras or similar devices continuously monitoring their activities. So I think this is a general principle that the USTP agrees with and has incorporated into its platform. Now, we do have some further questions that I think would be quite interesting to address. So, first of all, the Reneural Project writes, Tom, what would you do to accelerate progress in neurotech and biotech for the purpose of curing disabilities? And the U.S. Transhumanist Party does agree with the goal of curing disabilities. We have a section in our platform about that, and not just, say, helping people with disabilities adapt, but using technology to get rid of the disability.
Well, yeah, that's all transhuman. That's we need to enhance the quality of life for those who are disabled. I think at some point there will be transhumanists who have elective surgery for bionic arms or legs, this type of thing. The whole cyberpunk movement, that's a big part of this this movement itself. But I if I was president, I would have a whole. I would probably create a whole. One idea is having a new secretary, something in the executive branch that would focus on, I would call it the singularity secretary, somebody who would focus on all the economic and technological singularity issues that are coming. The Republicans and Democrats, they don't meet the minimum system requirements for this. And so I would think it's important that we have a whole council, and they would probably fall under the singularity secretary, to focus on all of these things: biotech, neurotech, nanotech. They would fall all under this, so we'd have one cabinet member that would be focused on all of these things and getting it funded, and really increasing our ability to help those who are otherly abled. Yeah, so I think that would be a very important thing. And at some point I was thinking, rather than running for president, maybe we should focus on certain initiatives. Maybe we should focus, we'll do this as well, but also we should focus on having a singularity secretary or a whole new branch of government, not a branch, but a part of government that would focus on all of these things, all these transhumanist ideals. That's what I would do.
Yes, indeed. So a singularity secretary that would coordinate efforts in this regard and make sure these areas of technology get the justified amount of investment. And as Ellen points out, we want to help the blind see and the lame walk. You can order some merchandise with these designs as well from our Zazzle store. Thank you to Art Ramon for that. And we also have a question about CBDCs, which are central bank digital currencies. And this has been pushed in some sectors as a way of, let's say, putting blockchains under governmental control. Of course, right now, the cryptocurrency space is filled with thousands of competing private cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin is just the most famous one of them, and we held 2 in-depth virtual enlightenment salons with Giovanni Santastasi recently, where he discusses his views about the Bitcoin power law theory and how the price of Bitcoin has, per his research, followed a power law with some cyclical fluctuations over the past 15 years. But central bank digital currencies are different in that they're an attempt by governments to essentially create blockchain-based cryptocurrencies of their own. My inclination is to say this isn't too different from digital money now, where most transactions in dollars are now essentially just figures being altered in people's bank accounts. Physical bills don't change hands. But for me, it would be a concern if that were the only way to transact, if cash were abolished or people couldn't hold other assets, private assets. But Tom and Daniel, what are your thoughts on central bank digital currencies, if you have given the matter some thoughts?
Well, I think it's really important to study this a lot longer and a lot deeper. And the recent, what was it called? The debate that happened, the third-party debate? Freedom.
Yes, the Free and Equal Elections
Free and Equal
Foundation
Election
debate.
Yes, they use blockchain and to make things more transparent. But we also found that there was a lot of I don't know if they were bots or what happened, but there were people that were getting so many more votes than people that were participating. So I think it requires a lot more study, a lot more research to make sure that a blockchain is actually transparent and is not can't be tainted. It's a very important thing to do. It's the future. Bitcoin, digital currencies are the future. We need to get away from the Federal Reserve, that type of thing. But again, we really need to look hard at it. There's so much going on. You don't know when I get a friend request on Facebook with a really cute girl on there, and but very little in her posts. You don't know if it's a bot. Trying to, and they're always at some point they ask you, are you interested in Bitcoin or some other currency? So it's ridden with bots at the moment. And even blockchain can be tainted. So we really need to focus on this now, because it will be the future of money. And so I think it's really important that we look at it hard. And so it would probably fall under the Singularity Secretary's purview to study this hard because of the economic singularity that is fast approaching.
So, Tom, your answer is essentially we need to study the issue, make sure concerns about fraudulent activity or other kinds of malfeasance that often seem to come in whenever significant amounts of monetary or financial value are involved are addressed and anticipated. Josh does clarify that the central bank digital currencies would add the Federal Reserve as a central point for all transactions instead of just them being institution to institution. And it seems like you don't support that. But even in a decentralized system, to your point, there is the potential for fraudulent or misleading activity. What happened with the debate poll that you mentioned, this was a poll to get candidates to qualify for the free and equal elections debate. And essentially, at least one of the parties, let's say, manipulated the system, because the blockchain itself worked as intended. But as voter ID, they used phone numbers, and they didn't prevent people from using voice over IP phone numbers, which could be generated in mass, essentially indefinitely. So some supporters of one of these candidates figured out this trick and mass-produced voice over IP numbers that then voted for this particular candidate, essentially in the thousands by the second. And this led to some quite impossible spikes that couldn't have happened with a purely organic vote. And Daniel actually was one of the people who really caught on to this issue. And as a result, we motivated the Free and Equal Elections Foundation to conduct an audit of its blockchain. And sure enough, they found the instances of the attempted vote manipulation. Now, in terms of what that teaches us, it teaches us that they should have used better verification criteria for voters to make sure that each vote was cast by a unique individual. The blockchain actually enabled the audit to take place. So there was some additional verification and transparency that couldn't have happened with a standard online poll. However, what that also teaches us is one needs to focus on more than just the blockchain, than just the security of the transaction itself. One needs to focus on the entire context of the transaction. Like, a Bitcoin transaction can be fully secure, but somebody could trick you into giving them your Bitcoin, and then you would be out of luck if you thought, say, you were buying something for it and actually no goods will be forthcoming from it. So very interesting discussion on central bank digital currencies and the blockchain. We have about 4 minutes left in the salon. So Daniel, if you'd like to make a point about that and any closing remark that you have, and then we'll give Tom the opportunity for a closing statement as well.
Yeah, I think the struggle we're in is feudalism is constantly trying to reassert itself into human society. They want to become a middle person between you and anyone else, but the American experiment is peer-to-peer and open source. You should be able to freely express and transact and associate with anyone. So it's troubling. The whole central bank digital currency thing is troubling because it could easily be used to create, like the Chinese are doing, a social credit system where if your activities don't make the government happy, they can take away privileges from you selectively or in a huge amount. So that's something to be careful of. And the fact that everyone uses the dollar still, and the government controls the dollar. That's why you should have the ability to get an app like Cash App, and where you can just do peer-to-peer Bitcoin transactions. Get on amateur radio, where you could do Bitcoin transactions over that. The government doesn't have to be involved in anything you don't want it to, and that's the American experiment. So, yeah, that's something we really need to pay close attention to. And do I have time to wrap up a little more? Well, I'll just leave it there.
All right. Thank you very much, Daniel, for those remarks. And Tom, we have 2 minutes left in our salon today. What would you like to tell our viewers as we conclude?
Well, again, I think it's the power elite that is the problem. That's why we're being so distracted. They're using our ADD against us. And so it's really important to keep in mind that there is a third choice. There is curtain number 3. Again, as I said in my opening remarks, the Republicrats are a two-headed snake, no offense to snakes, and they are feeding on our fear and our anger. And we're seeing this in social media. When you're afraid of something or you're angry, you engage more so that they could charge more for their advertisers. So that's really important to understand. These algorithms are divide and conquer algorithms, and they are on autopilot. We need to first be aware that that's happening. I mean, a lot of people are starting to be aware of this now anyway, but it's every day and it's every moment. And so one of my 47-second videos is about an intention span. When you wake up in the morning, before you start scrolling, if you haven't already, or if it's not on default, turn your device listening system on and tell it exactly what your intentions are for the day, for the week, for the oncoming years. And you'll start to see these algorithms working for you. You'll start to see them giving you information that helps you. Because right now, the advertisers, the government, they all understand what's happening when whether you talk about some product and you'll get an ad for it within moments. You talk about something that angers you about a political party, the algorithm will kick in and give you all this confirmation bias satiating information you need. So we really need to take control of these algorithms. The advertisers, the government, they understand what's happening. They understand that and they're afraid of our collective power. So we need to start paying more attention and taking control of these algorithms. And that's part of this whole campaign. It's part of putting the human back in transhuman. And so I just want to leave with that we need to be, first we need to be aware that these algorithms, these divide and conquer algorithms are on autopilot, but they can be tamed. We can take control. And so that's really the main point of breaking these political paradigms of this campaign, my personal campaign. So thanks again for watching.
Yes, and thank you very much, Tom, for your remarks. Thank you, Daniel, for your statements and for joining us today. I hope that we have given the viewers of this stream plenty of reasons to write in Tom Ross for President of the United States, Daniel Twedt for Vice President of the United States. Let us make a prominent statement this election season that a sizable portion of American voters are tired of the duopoly, and we want better choices. We want choices that will enable us to live long and prosper.